8 in 10 teenagers in the United States believe they were taught more about the biology of the frog than the biology of the female body. This is shocking because this is the United States and it is also recent. Can you imagine what is happening around the world? I believe these statistics might even be worse or similar across the globe. This is really appalling because this is an important information every girl should know at their fingertips, because it has a lot to do with our self-care as ladies, our self-care as girls or women, and because it takes majority, or if not half of our lifetime, that we experience this, and it affects so many other things: our academics, our lifestyle, the way we react, the way we treat other human beings, and yet this is not talked about enough. So this is the kind of gap I want to bridge with this channel, and in this video I'm going to be explaining in simple terms what menstrual cycle actually is, what actually happens, and the basic things you need to know as a girl or as a lady, and how you can teach the next girl around you. So the menstrual cycle, according to American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, the menstrual cycle is from the first day of bleeding of one period to the first day of bleeding of the next period. That is to say, the first day that you start seeing your period blood, that's day 1, and the first day that you start seeing the next period, that's the end of the one menstrual cycle. And the best way to actually know this and to know how the length of your menstrual cycle, I'll leave a link on how you can calculate that. It's good for you to take a note and know what happens this month, what happens next month, for 3 to 4 months or 6 months, and take the average of those number of days that your cycle happens, and then divide it by 3 months if you've done it for 3 months or 4 months or 6 months, and then the average is your menstrual cycle length. Once your menstruation starts at puberty, it doesn't stop until menopause, when you stop seeing the blood. So the blood is actually the product of what has happened during the whole cycle. Okay, so that's actually the end of it, and then the cycle begins again, so it never stops. So the thing that I need you to take away from this video is that during the menstrual cycle, there are hormones that are actually triggering this whole thing. So it's a complex process. Like, the brain will be signaled to release these types of hormone to make this actually happen in your ovary and in your uterus. So what you need to understand is that you have the hormones triggering this process, and there are 4 phases. So for the hormones, we have the follicle stimulating hormone, we have the luteinizing hormone, we have the estrogen, we have the progesterone. 4. And then for the phases, we have the menstruation, the follicular phase, the ovulation, and the luteal phase. So for the menstruation, this is the one that everyone sees, the product of all these things that happen during the cycle. There is no pregnancy, and then all those preparations that the body has made is now coming out as blood. For this, the average is 2 days to 7 days. It happens 2 days to 7 days. Okay, so but the second phase, which is the follicular phase, so once the menstruation starts, the brain is signaled to start the process all over again. The brain is signaled to release a hormone called the follicle stimulating hormone. So each follicle has an egg, right? So the follicle stimulating hormone will stimulate the follicles to mature an egg, to help an egg to mature, right? So once an egg is matured, now it leads us to the next phase, which is the ovulation. So the ovulation occurs on the average 14 days before the start of the next cycle. So what happens is, it means that the follicular phase can vary in duration for so many girls, because the cycle can actually last for longer for some people or shorter for some people. So on the average, the menstrual cycle is between 21 days to 35 days. Some school of thought say 21 days to 40 days. However, the ovulation actually happens 14 days to the start of the next cycle. So during ovulation, if you have unprotected sex, you can actually get pregnant. Hormone that is very high at that time causing the release of that egg, pulling the egg towards the fallopian tube, is called the luteinizing hormone. So this hormone is high at that time. That is why, if you have watched my previous video, I did mention that during the ovulation, if you are using the ovulation test kit, for instance, the hormone that those kits actually test for is the luteinizing hormone, because that is what is high during the ovulation. So if you're trying to get pregnant, you're trying to see if you can have a baby, and you're using the test kits, this is the hormone that you see, the luteinizing. That those kits actually test for this luteinizing hormone. During the luteal phase, the hormones that are high at that time, helping the uterus to get ready by, having like the making the uterus to thicken, have extra tissues, blood, all of those things, getting ready in case there is pregnancy. It calls the estrogen and the progesterone. So these hormones actually is high during the luteal phase. So they continue to thicken this lining of the uterus, hoping that there is pregnancy. So after this ovulation, there is no unprotected sex, there's no pregnancy. Now all these hormones will now go down, like the estrogen and the progesterone, the level will reduce because the brain will be triggered that there's nothing that happened, and then the hormone will reduce, and all those preparation, the extra tissues, the lining of the uterus, the thickening and everything will no longer continue to do what they are doing because the hormones are not there, and then they will now be shed as blood. That's why the menstrual blood itself is not just blood. You also have like cells, tissues, all those extra preparation that the body was making to see if it will help, like to keep the baby when if there is any pregnancy. Like all of them will start shedding at this time. And why you get your cramps and become uncomfortable is because the uterus has to contract, so that once it contracts, like all those extra things will now be be forced to go out because they are not doing anything at that time. So basically it's forcing it out, and that's why you feel very uncomfortable, you feel cramps, you pain and all of those stuff. And so once this menstruation, you start seeing that blood again, the process continues. Okay, so as a recap, what actually happens is that you need to know the hormones, which is the follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, estrogen and progesterone. And you need to know that the menstruation happens in 4 phases. You start seeing your period, and once you start seeing your period, the brain will be triggered to start the process again, and the follicles in your ovary will be stimulated by the hormone called the follicle stimulating hormone. They will be triggered to have an egg mature, and so during that time that the menstruation and all of that is happening before the ovulation, a matured egg actually matures, and the hormone called the luteinizing hormone becomes high during the ovulation, causes one of the egg to be released. So once the egg is released, that's what you call your ovulation, and it happens 14 days before the next period, okay, and on the average. And so when an egg is released, if you have unprotected sex, you can get pregnant. But then if there's no pregnancy, the egg will continue to move towards the uterus, which has been getting ready all those while to see if there will be pregnancy, so that they will get the uterus ready for pregnancy to actually thrive. But then, because there's no pregnancy, these two, estrogen and progesterone, that has been doing all the work, will now reduce. The brain will trigger those hormones to now reduce. So once they are no longer working, then all those preparation, the tissues, the extra cells and all of that has been formed, the thickening of the uterus, will now start shedding as blood. So as you can see, the menstrual cycle is actually complex. There is a brain involvement, the hormones involved, and you have all these phases. And because there are all these changes, a lot of people feel different ways at different times in their cycle. So some people feel what you call the premenstrual syndrome, feel irritable, feel uncomfortable. You are not really very patient all of a sudden. And if you are aware of these things, you will not start thinking that someone is causing it or some circumstance is causing it. Again, knowledge of this will help you to know when something is abnormal. So if you feel like you are feeling these symptoms, you're feeling your mood is changing so much, much, is lasting even beyond your period, is not like you have been feeling it every month, then it is something beyond your menstrual cycle and you need to see a professional. If you are bleeding more than you usually bleed, like you're changing your pad every hour, every 2 hours, unlike before, then you know you need to see a medical professional. Then if you feel like your period is not coming at all and you are not pregnant, you didn't have any unprotected sex, then you know you need to see a medical professional. If it is longer than normal, if all of a sudden you don't used to feel pain and then you feel so much pain at certain times, if you begin to bleed when you are not supposed to, these are the things that will make you to speak to a professional. And again, is that this is an information everybody should actually know, both males and the females. So if you're a guy and you're watching this video, congratulations to you, because if you have sisters, they are going to benefit a lot. You understand them more, you understand them better. And if you have a wife, if you have children that are ladies, girls, then you know exactly how to handle them, what to teach them, and how to show them the way. So guys, I hope you found this useful. In my next video, I'm going to be explaining other terms like the premenstrual syndrome and what actually happens and what causes those symptoms, and so many more in this series. So guys, if you like this video in any way, what did you like specifically about this video? Let me know in the comment section. Did I make it simple for you, or you want me to make it simpler? Let me know in the comment section. I do want to have feedback because this is my new channel and I want to have all the feedback, and so that will improve and to serve you more in my subsequent videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.